I had to choose who lived and who died. That's what triage means. 27 wounded soldiers and civilians came in after a suicide bombing. I had 2 operating tables, and 4 hours before the critically wounded would die. I chose to save the American soldiers first. Let me be clear. I let Afghan children die while I saved grown men with guns. I made that choice, and I'd make it again. That's what destroys me. I'm from Seattle, became a trauma surgeon, joined the Army Medical Corps at 30. I believed in service, in using my skills where they mattered most. They deployed me to a forward operating base in Kandahar province, Afghanistan. In 2011, I was the only surgeon for 50 miles. If someone got hurt badly, I was their only chance. The base hospital was primitive by American standards. 2 operating rooms, limited supplies, generators that failed constantly, but I was good at my job. Really good. I could operate in blackouts using headlamps, could improvise tools, could make impossible decisions under pressure. That's what trauma surgeons do. We play God every day and pretend it doesn't destroy us. Most days were routine. Gunshot wounds, IED, injuries, the occasional appendicitis. I saved lives, sent soldiers back to their families. Felt like I was making a difference. Then came August 15th, 2011. A suicide bomber detonated in a marketplace in a nearby village during peak hours. The explosion killed 18 instantly. 57 were wounded. The local clinic was overwhelmed in minutes. They sent everyone they couldn't handle to us. The casualties arrived in waves, helicopters, trucks, anything that could move. My hospital became chaos. Screaming, blood everywhere, people dying on gurneys in the hallway. My 2 operating tables were immediately full. The triage area was overflowing. Medics were doing CPR in the dirt outside. And I had to decide who got surgery first, who lived, who died. Triage categories are simple. Immediate, delayed, minimal, expectant. Immediate means they die without surgery right now. Delayed means they can wait a few hours. Minimal means they'll survive with basic care. Expectant means they're going to die no matter what you do, so you don't waste resources. Cold, clinical, necessary. That's what they taught me. I walked through that triage area making decisions in seconds. This one's immediate. That one's delayed. This one's expectant. Give morphine and move on. I tagged a 6-year-old girl as expectant. Shrapnel had shredded her abdomen. She'd lost too much blood. Her chances were maybe 5%, even with perfect surgery. I had people with better odds. So I tagged her expectant and walked away. She died 20 minutes later while I was operating on an American specialist with a severed femoral artery. Drop triage in the comments if you've ever had to make an impossible choice with lives at stake. Subscribe because this gets darker. Here's what they don't tell you about triage. It's not just about medical viability. It's political. It's tribal. It's about who matters more. And in an American military hospital, American soldiers matter more. That's the unspoken rule. When you have limited resources and have to choose, you choose your own people first. It's logical. It's strategic. It's also monstrous. I had 7 American soldiers in that triage area. All immediate category. All needed surgery in the next hour. I also had 12 Afghan civilians. Mostly women and children. Also immediate category. Same critical wounds. Same time window. I put all 7 Americans on the surgery list first. Then I started adding Afghans. By the time I got the Americans done, 6 of those 12 Afghans were dead, including 3 children under 10. Could I have saved them? Maybe. Probably, if I'd mixed up the surgery order, done some Americans and some Afghans. Alternating, I might have saved 2 or 3 more kids. But I didn't. I chose to save my people first. The people who looked like me, spoke like me, wore the same flag I did. I let children die because they were born on the wrong side of a border they didn't choose. One case haunts me specifically. I had an American private with abdominal shrapnel wounds. Serious, but stable. His vitals were holding. He could have waited 3 hours, maybe 4. I also had an 8-year-old Afghan boy with similar wounds but worse bleeding. He needed surgery immediately. The boy had better odds if I took him first, but I didn't. I took the American. While I was operating on the private, the Afghan boy crashed. By the time I got to him, he was gone. I made the choice that killed him. After the surgery marathon ended, after 16 hours straight in the OR, I walked outside and threw up. Not from exhaustion. From the realization of what I'd done. I'd prioritized nationality over medical need. I'd violated the core principle of medicine. Do no harm, or at least minimize harm. I'd let children die to save adults who chose to be in a war zone. My commanding officer found me outside. Hell of a job in there, Doc. You saved a lot of lives today. I asked him about the Afghans who died. He got quiet. Then he said, "You made the right calls. Our people come first. That's not racism. That's reality. We're here to protect American interests and American lives. You did your job." He was right by military logic, and completely wrong by human logic. I tried to justify it, told myself the Americans were soldiers protecting the hospital that also treated Afghans. If I let soldiers die to save civilians, eventually we'd have no security and everyone would die. Told myself the Afghans were in a war zone, knew the risks. Told myself I couldn't save everyone, so I had to save who I could. But none of it stuck, because the truth is simpler and uglier. I valued American lives more than Afghan lives, and when forced to choose, I chose based on nationality. I finished my deployment, came home to Seattle, went back to civilian trauma surgery. I'm excellent at my job. I save lives every day. But I can't do triage anymore. Can't make those decisions. When multiple critical patients come in, I freeze. See those Afghan kids. The 6-year-old girl I tagged expectant. The 80-year-old boy who bled out while I operated on someone with better paperwork. My colleagues don't understand. They think it's PTSD. I've spent 12 years trying to make peace with what I did. Those kids are still dead, and I'm still the person who let them die because saving Americans was easier than being fair. Here's the worst part. I'd do it again. If I went back to that exact situation tomorrow, I'd make the same choices. Because I'm American, because those soldiers were my patients, my responsibility, my tribe, because that's how humans work. We prioritize our own, even when it's wrong, especially when it's wrong. Knowing that about myself, living with that, is the real punishment. The military gave me a commendation, outstanding performance under extreme conditions. They praised my decision-making, my surgical skill, my composure, because I did what the system needed me to do. I chose America first. That's not a war crime. That's not even controversial. So here asks my question. If you had to choose between saving your own people or being fair, what would you actually do? What would you really do when the blood is real and the clock is running? Comment below. And subscribe because next week I'll share the story of a translator who had to choose between betraying his Afghan friends or protecting American soldiers. These impossible choices are what war actually is. And I sleep okay most nights because humans are incredibly good at justifying whatever we need to justify to keep functioning. That's the real horror. Thank you for watching this. I know it's uncomfortable. Truth usually is.